And why don't we go ahead and I think we want to bring Grace up on stage first. Hey, Grace, how you doing?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone.
So I think you're gonna want to share something and play some audio. So we might want to go ahead and do that first, and then we can bring Andrea on stage whenever you're ready. But again, this is Grace and Andrea from World Information Architecture Day, kicking off hour 11. And Johannes and I will just be here to help out.
Okay, and we're gonna test it out because we didn't test this beforehand,
Right.
so we'll see.
Okay.
Window, Chrome tab. There's no option to share audio.
Yeah, I think you share the whole desktop. Is it?
Oh, okay, I see. So like if you do the Chrome tab, then it's only within certain Chrome tabs. Okay, all right, so let's see. We can do this.
So for everyone who's already on stage listening, we're doing a quick test run in between, so we don't have issues with the technical setup during the session, which is just great for you. And before we run into technical issues during the talk, why not take a short break?
Yeah, because there's
grab
nothing
a drink.
Yeah, we don't want to interrupt Grace in the middle with some technical problems. Let's get those taken care of now.
There are too many different places where you can find things.
That's fine. So
it has to do with multiple.
In the meantime, I give our audience something to do. I want to order pizza for dinner today. I want recommendations what pizza I should order. So put the favorite pizzas on the chat for me, what you think that I should eat for tonight's dinner.
So
also for the cat.
It depends, Johannes. So can I start asking more questions like a good user researcher? So what are you allergic to?
Nothing, but I not allergic, but I can't eat like seafood. So I like it. I enjoy eating it. I'm not allergic, so won't collapse, but still it's not the best for me to eat it.
So seafood. So anchovies okay though?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
I mean, because they're fish, but they don't get classified as seafood, right? That was always one of those weird categorization things. Fish are not seafood, according to most.
Yeah, so fish is okay, seafood not. Just because of my stomach. It just doesn't like seafood.
So yeah, just trying to get some information architecture discussion in here while we're waiting. So
yeah, move along with while Grace is testing everything out.
And so if you take a pizza and fold it in half, does it make it a sandwich?
Good question. So not sure about this one. Probably then it's calzone.
Okay.
You call it?
If you right, exactly right. So they have different names, but if you think of this general category of a sandwich, which is two pieces of baked things with cheese and other stuff in the middle, it would sort of be it would fit the category. So Grace, I see you've got.
So do you have the sound on already?
No, not yet. I need Andrea, would you mind sharing access? Sorry. We should have tested this before. It's a different account.
You need to request access or you need to check it. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Oh, we have a lot of questions on the chat in the meantime.
Oh my god. Yes. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Vegetarian pizza? Yeah, that would be great. Roll a slice of pizza.
Yes, so somebody quick could go out on the internet and find all of those memes around what is a sandwich and what is a taco a sandwich and all those things. So, so how are we doing on that?
We hear it.
I can hear the audio. Fine. It's working. Great.
Okay, awesome. Sorry about that.
No problem. Grace, I'll let you take it away, and you just let us know when you want us to bring Andrea on stage anytime you want.
And in the meantime, I found out what I need to do to prepare a Styrian pizza. Just remove the olive oil and put pumpkin seed oil on it. So any pizza is fine. Just make it the Styrian way for me. So I'm off stage.
Thanks.
Hi, hello everyone. So I guess let's start it. So information architecture helps people and organizations make sense of information, to figure things out, to understand, to find, learn, and make connections. It does this by creating places where people can find things and find their own bearings. This is where the term architecture comes in. When we speak about information architecture, we use architecting in a figurative way to describe creating or building something abstract. In this talk, this abstract thing is a community. We bring together local communities, so World Day, World IA Association, we bring together local communities and support global initiatives to spread the information architecture practice. We run the largest global conference about information architecture. It's a large community that started over 10 years ago with an event that takes place every year across almost all the continents. So since 2012, we've been in 165 locations, 58 countries, and we've had over more or less 470 events. So that's pretty good. We'd like to share with you today how we are architecting, or rather re-architecting a community, because it's actually what we did in hindsight. Our story today is about when the Information Architecture Institute dissolved, and from that, how we are bringing the community back together. So let's start with the ending that prompted the beginning. The information architecture community has evolved tremendously in the past 25 years. From a book to many books to a conference or an institute to annual gatherings around the world. Um, in late 2019, before the pandemic, the Information Architecture Institute announced their decision to dissolve, disclosing that it had been struggling for a long time financially, legally, and structurally. World IA Day was the most well-known product out of the IA Institute, and so we decided to keep that going. World IA Day was set up as its own charitable nonprofit organization. Oops. Um, and it would continue the local events around the world to keep that IA conversation alive. During this period, the New World IA organization was caught between the old way of doing things and exploring whatever new processes might bring. This transition period was chaotic as we worked to redefine and orient ourselves. To architect, we need to understand. We started to ask a lot of questions. This is something that the IA community does well. Why are we here? What do you mean by sandwich, taco, pizza? Um, and so late last year, we decided to start on a research project. We asked, what is a community? Why do people join a community? And what makes them stay or leave? And we asked about the relationships that people have with their communities in general. We focused on people's stories around how they came across IA, what led them to be engaged or involved, why they left certain communities, and what their biggest frustrations were. Through applying these IA methods of identifying what a community is and learning about how people are connected to a community, we could then point out opportunities for World IA Day and develop a strategy for how the new global organization could create, develop, address gaps in the IA community. So we heard from people around the world, including those from the United States, Spain, the UK, Egypt, India. We gathered stories from roughly 40 people. These stories serve as the starting point for our user profiles. Not all of these stories were about the IA community in particular. We had asked people to pick any community they were part of and share that experience, whether it was IXDA, UXPA, or any professional community. We heard from people who were just starting out, being IA curious, to mostly mid-career professionals and the IA elders in the community. Over half of our interviewees were in fields related to some aspect of design and technology, using information architecture as a skill in their toolkit to do their work. These interviews became unintentionally intense, emotionally charged conversations. Most of the people shared stories of how they came across IA through other people or books. They talked about how they met a group of people around a common interest, and sharing that serendipitous experience of coming across this seemingly simple yet complex technical field. The Information architecture. It's 2 words. When you take them apart, become a Pandora's box of intertwined complexity to describe something that attempts to help people make sense of information, figure things out, to understand, find, learn, and make connections. But during our conversations, the word community needed to be defined clearly. Which community were we referring to? These 2 communities, the professional association and the community at large, are 2 distinct things. People who are part of one don't necessarily care about the other. Professional associations are defined by the conferences. Organizations like World IA Day are simply tapping into that existing community and trying to provide opportunities for people to gather and learn, right? Whereas anyone learning about IA, for example, in 24 hours of UX, are already part of the community because you're learning about it. So the professional community association within a community is not really top of mind. We learned that community is something that is best formed organically, not intentionally, right? You don't have to be part of an organization or association to be considered part of it. Organizations and associations exist within communities to help bring people together. The people we spoke to seem to agree that a community is a group of people who share the same goals. They're coming together to learn and grow in a common and different interest, to meet others like themselves and to help one another, and to share their experience with others. People join communities because of resources. They're looking for jobs, looking for places to ask questions, support for learning and professional development, to get career advice and mentoring. From being new to the field and being mentored, to writing articles and speaking publicly at events and conferences, to being a mentor to others and then advising mentors on mentoring. This cycle of engagement is crucial to building and sustaining a professional community. At the same time, it's important to understand why people leave or pass through a community. We heard that people left their communities because the communities weren't relevant to their work anymore. The leadership in the communities had a lot of internal politics. They stopped being accountable to its membership, or it became a personal platform. It stopped being transparent in the way it managed money or made decisions, or that the direction of the conversations in the community were not clear or focused. For the IA community in particular, maybe it was losing its distinction as an intradisciplinary field. Some people in the IA community left because it became stressful for them to maintain that high level momentum and energy to advocate for information architecture and its relevance and impact to the rest of the world. It's a lot of work to advocate to sell IA. In particular, one person mentioned that IA needed to look outside of their community as well as be acknowledged by other fields. Many didn't feel like they were part of the conversation. They didn't feel invited to be more involved. There was a core group of leaders in the community, and there's not enough conversation about whether those leaders were doing the right thing by the community. Andrea found this really touching lyrical song about what belonging to a community means. It is by Swiss singer-songwriter Manny Matter, who is still very popular 50 years after his premature death. This is a song that's in a German dialect, but we have translated in English.
Wir haben einen Verein, ich gehöre dazu. Und die Leute sagen, schau, der gehört auch dazu. Und manchmal gehöre ich wirklich dazu und ich stehe dazu. Und dann sehe ich den Sättig, die gehören dazu. Und haben doch mit mir im Grunde noch nichts zu tun. Und andere, die ich doch biess dazu, gehören nicht dazu. Und auch was sie machen, die dazu, die gehören, da standen ich nicht gegen dazu. Und manchmal fragen mich die Leute, oh, schau, gehörst du da dazu? Und ich werde verlegen, stehe nicht mehr recht dazu. Und denke noch, blasen mir doch in die Schule. Und gebe nur ganz ungern zu, ja, ich gehöre dazu. Und dann denke ich alle dann doch wieder, schau, es gehört der und dieser ja auch noch dazu. Und dann gehöre ich doch wieder gern dazu und ich stehe dazu. So gehöre ich dazu, gehöre gleich nicht dazu. Und standen dazu, standen gleich nicht dazu. Bin manchmal stolz und hab manchmal genug und das gehört dazu. Wir haben einen Verein, ich gehöre dazu. Und die Leute sagen, schau, der gehört auch dazu. Und manchmal gehöre ich wirklich dazu und ich stehe dazu.
Belonging is a central theme of Money Matters song. The people who stayed were the ones who still felt they belonged, or at least mostly belonged. However, the disappearance of the Information Architecture Institute was no place. There was no place for people to belong anymore. This became an opportunity for a new beginning for those who stayed. You're on mute.
Need to make sure that I'm the one who's sharing now. I'm not. Let me check. Yes, now I am. Sorry about that. Okay, as Grace said, this became an opportunity for a new beginning for those who stayed. And we took the ending of the IA Institute as a way to protect the continuity of something bigger or something new. Sorry, so there I am. So the new community is different from before. We had a bunch of active people from around the world when you started out. The international grassroots movement of World IA Day replaced the more focused and formal organization of the IA Institute. And people don't only come from different regions of the world, they also come from different disciplines. People joined World IA Day with backgrounds in geography, media, business software, extended reality, and many other fields, even cooking and gardening. And this is definitely something we want to extend to establish the relevance of IA in disciplines other than UX and to strengthen the ties between the disciplines. Also, the community has new goals. World IA Day, the event, the yearly one-day event that we have, stays our most important product. But we also want to create new products like the World IA Cafe. Those are smaller events that are more distributed around the world and can take place throughout the year. We want to push projects like our newsletter and our content collection. We are compiling all World IA Day talks to make these resources available to everyone. So here we were with this new community. At first, it was mainly the excitement of the opportunity of changing things that united us. Everything else was pretty much unclear. What is the purpose of this community? How much change is happening? What are its boundaries? How do others see us? Has belonging changed? And if yes, how? We tried to take different perspectives into account to make sense of this community we had started to lead. This changed our role as a global board. We weren't only part of the community, we started caring about it. But the question remained, what kind of organization are we? Are we a loose group, or should we become a more formal organization that offers the possibility to develop in the direction of a professional association? We had many discussions around this. In the end, we opted for the latter, the association. We realized we didn't only care about the community, we wanted to serve it. Serving doesn't mean being dictated. Serving the community, in our opinion, means architecting a place for it. But what does it take to create a place where people feel at ease, where they belong? We try to understand this better by identifying a number of qualities for a place. These qualities encompass access. You can't use a place if you don't have access, and access should provide different entry points and allow for different needs and contexts. It needs orientation. If you don't know where you are, access is useless. You need to be able to find your bearings, to find out where you can go and how you can move around. And I come to action. You go to a place for a purpose. What can you do there? How can you use the place to achieve your own goals? But also, how does the pursuit of your own goals affect others? How do you interact with them? Which leads me to the last quality, connections. How do you connect with people and objects within this place? And how do you connect beyond it? Can you access other places and open doors for those outside? Let me give you a few examples. For access, there are a couple of things we are quite proud to have achieved. Since this year's event, we have a platform that integrates online conferences from around the world. So people don't only access their own location as they previously did in an in-person setting, but can also take part in the events in other locations. This is, of course, similar to the platform we are connecting on right now. At Wyatt, however, the focus is more on the local events. We have been providing transcriptions and translations of the global keynotes and have started transcribing more talks. Our goal is to make resources available in many languages and to people with disabilities. This also contributes to connections with other cultures and to orientation. You might find out that others are dealing with similar issues or that they have a perspective that can open your eyes. However, in terms of action, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. Action is what keeps our community going first and foremost. Without the hundreds of organizers and volunteers, this event wouldn't be taking place every year. To further develop the community, we offer opportunities for activities like apprenticeships, internships, and mentoring. Looking at action from the perspective of communication, we have organized several global Q&A sessions. This allowed interaction with the keynote speakers as well as amongst attendees from different locations. Interactions, of course, are hard to distinguish from the connections that I am getting at right now. Connections are a favorite topic of ours. We are working both on improving connections within the community and beyond it. Speakers at the event connect people with content. We haven't talked much about content yet, but the aspect of learning about IA and having exchange of ideas is as important to Wyatt as the community aspect. Our speakers and also our sponsors create connections and visibility beyond the center of our community. And last but not least, we are connecting with partners. We are partnering with universities, content providers, and other events like World Disability Day, or as today, with 24 Hours of UX. At last year's event of 24 Hours of UX, speakers from the World IA Day and organizers participated in a lively discussion about curiosity. Curiosity means that you are willing to embark on a journey of which you do not know the outcome. It means you may get lost. To reduce the uncertainty of this voyage, you need means for orientation. And orientation is the hardest part. We're working on it, but it's still our weakest point. At the very beginning of our journey, we carried out workshops around the future of Wyatt and prioritized the outcomes. Our goal was to give orientation in the form of the roadmap that resulted from this process. We also believe that we gave orientation by selecting meaningful themes and inviting renowned speakers to interpret them in the form of global keynotes. We believe this form of orientation increased access, interaction, and connections. Last but not least, we don't really have an answer to those who left the community because they found IA hard to sell. Isn't it ironic that a community that talks about making sense doesn't have a consensus on the definition of what we are doing? We believe we do need this definition to understand ourselves what we are doing, to explain it to people outside of the community, and to give our community a clear profile. Maybe we can build on these qualities to explain the purpose of IA. In conclusion, we have shown you a few examples of how we are trying to architect this community, how we are trying to create places, a place or places for people to belong. Placemaking means creating the necessary conditions for others to unfold and develop. We want to empower people to learn about IA and to accompany us on this journey of placemaking and sense-making. We are trying to question our own actions and change perspectives to find out which approaches are successful and which ones we should abandon. We'd like to end with a few questions. How else? Are we making sense? What are we doing well and what should we improve? Are we helping people to belong? What do you think? And How do you want to participate in shaping this community? Here are some things that you could do. We'd love to hear from you. We're available for the Q&A, or you can reach us via other channels. Sorry, moderators, if that was a bit abrupt. So we're ready for the Q&A if there's anyone who has any questions to ask.
How many IAs? You should really take a look at how many IAs it takes to design our website. Join our ever-growing number of IAs that we're using to redesign our website. Keith, if you're
muted. You're on mute.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Grace. Thanks, Andrea, for joining us here and being a partner with 24 Hours of UX, promoting our event as we promoted yours back in March, right? Sounds like you'll be doing another big event again next year around World IA Day, right?
Yeah, every year there's always something new, something more. It's actually pretty fun when we saw 24 Hours of UX because so many IA elders have joined 24. Keith?
Yes.
Donna from Australia, other
Yes.
IA elder.
So yeah, definitely I picked up on the same spirit that we had back in 2012, right? Yeah, back in 2012 when we started World Eye Day, it was that same thing. We couldn't all get on Hopin, but we were each in our own little part of the world and sharing some stories. And you could at least say for that one day of the year, we were all together in talking about information architecture as a planet. So, yeah, again, thanks for joining. And why don't you guys hop on over to the Q&A session and you guys can continue on there. I see Elizabeth Rosenzweig is on backstage and she's going to talk about World Usability Day, which again, there's a reason that we put you two back to back because it's really two versions of that same very similar story. So again, thanks for joining. Thanks for being a partner and we'll figure out what to do even more next year together.
Thank you.